In wrestling, some guys work their entire careers to become champion. It takes years and years of work to get to the top. But this guy? He just exploded onto the scene. He burned so unbelievably bright that he almost changed everything. And then he just vanished. These are the stories you never hear. The champions who held the entire world in their hands for just a few seconds. They're the shooting stars, the names you only hear about from old school fans. I'm about to tell you something that sounds completely fake. Back in 1981, a 24-year-old kid from Tennessee did the impossible. He stood in the middle of a wrestling ring, holding the biggest prize in the entire world, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He beat an unbeatable champion who almost never lost. For a second, he was on top of the entire world. And then, just 4 days later, it was all gone. This is the story of a champion who was both a legend and a complete ghost. This is the story of Wildfire Tommy Rich, the NWA World Champion literally nobody seems to remember. So, who even is this guy? Before he shocked the entire world, Thomas Richardson was basically a wrestling prodigy. He started wrestling in 1974, when he was just a teenager. In a world full of tough veterans who protected their spots, Tommy Rich had an insane, natural charisma that you just can't teach. The fans were obsessed with him. He wasn't the biggest or strongest guy, but he had heart. And in the South, that was everything. He blew up in Georgia Championship Wrestling, a promotion that was about to get huge thanks to Ted Turner's superstation, TBS. They nicknamed him Wildfire, and it was the perfect name. His wrestling style was just pure explosion. In the ring, he was a tornado of punches, drop kicks, and crazy emotion. When he was losing, you could feel the entire arena get nervous, and when he made his big comeback, the crowd would go absolutely insane. It didn't take long for him to become the promotion's #1 good guy. The TV ratings for his show were through the roof, and arenas everywhere were completely sold out just to see him. And this wasn't just a local thing. Wrestling legend Jim Cornette later said that in 1981, Tommy Rich was more popular than anyone in the entire country. He was winning championships everywhere and selling an unbelievable number of tickets. He was a certified megastar. But nobody, not even Tommy himself, knew he was about to collide with the most protected championship on the planet. To understand how the events of April 27, 1981 were, you need to understand the NWA World Championship. It wasn't like today where there are a million world champions. This was the title. If you held this belt, you were the best wrestler in the world. Period. And the champion was the legendary HarleyRace. Race was the complete opposite of Tommy Rich. He was a tough, mean veteran, an 8-time champion who had beaten everybody. He was basically the final boss of wrestling. Title changes almost never happened, and huge upsets were completely unheard of. When HarleyRace came to your town, he was leaving with that belt. But on that one night in Augusta, Georgia, the unthinkable happened. In front of a screaming hometown crowd, Wildfire Tommy Rich took on the unstoppable champion. It was a crazy brawl. When they got to the finish, Rich caught Race and pinned him right in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. The entire arena exploded. It was complete chaos. Tommy Rich, a 24-year-old kid, had just pinned HarleyRace. He was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. This sent a massive shockwave through the wrestling world. It was everything Tommy had ever worked for. He later said that HarleyRace had to leave a $10,000 cash deposit with the arena just to make sure he wouldn't steal the belt. That's how serious this was. What happened next was a complete blur. Rich was champion for only 4 days. He defended the title 3 times in 3 different cities, but his time was running out. And get this, because his entire championship reign happened between a Monday and a Friday, he never once got to appear on television as the NWA World Champion. The next Saturday, they showed grainy clips of his win, but by then, he had already lost it. On Friday, May 1st, just 4 days after his life changed forever, Tommy Rich lost the championship right back to HarleyRace. And just like that, the fire was out. So why? Why would the most important championship in wrestling be passed around like that? For decades, the answer has been a huge mess of rumors and backstage politics. It all depends on who you ask. Theory number 1. It was a massive power play. One of the most powerful men in wrestling, Jim Barnett, was supposedly in a fight for control of Georgia Championship Wrestling. The plan was ruthless. Have the territory's biggest star win the title, which would cause ticket sales and TV ratings to skyrocket. This would prove how valuable Barnett was. Tommy Rich was basically a pawn in a giant chess game, given the ultimate prize just for political reasons. This theory makes a lot of sense. It shows how cutthroat the wrestling business really was. It also explains why Tommy never got a major push after this. The NWA was already moving on to its next chosen one, a guy named Ric Flair, who would win the title later that year and become a legend. Tommy Rich's one moment was over. But there's another story, and it comes from Tommy Rich himself. In interviews, Tommy has said that's completely fake. He claims the champion, HarleyRace, came up with the idea. Rich says Race saw how popular he was in Georgia and suggested the title change just to make a ton of money on a series of rematches. In his version, it was all about respect. So what's the real story? We will probably never know the whole truth, but the result is exactly the same. Tommy Rich is in the history books as an NWA World Champion, and nobody can ever take that away. But because his reign was so short and surrounded by drama, it cast a huge shadow over his entire career. He was a champion, but he was a forgotten one. So you've been the world champion for 4 days. What could you possibly do next? How about having one of the most violent and brutal rivalries in the history of wrestling? If his title reign was a quick flash of glory, his war with Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer was a 2-year dive into pure chaos that would change both of them forever. The feud started in 1982 over a different title, but it immediately got personal. Rich was still the popular hero. Buzz Sawyer was his perfect opposite, a short, powerful, and completely unhinged maniac who looked like he wanted to fight the fans as much as his opponent. Their matches were straight-up wars. They weren't even wrestling anymore. They were just trying to absolutely destroy each other all over the arena. To fight a mad dog, Tommy had to become one himself. The feud got so real and so intense that the president of the NWA had to officially ban both of them from being in the same building for months because he was afraid they would legit kill each other. This war lasted for almost 2 years, which was unheard of back then. They sold out huge arenas like Atlanta's famous Omni Coliseum night after night, just so fans could see the next bloody chapter. It all ended on October 23, 1983, in an event called the Last Battle of Atlanta. They were locked inside a giant steel cage with a roof on it for a brutal, bloody fight. During the match, Sawyer bit Rich's forehead, leaving him covered in blood. Rich eventually won, but the war took a massive toll on him. One famous reporter compared it to the third Ali-Frazier boxing match, a fight so insane that neither man was ever the same again. And here's the craziest part. A young fan watching that match, who would grow up to be superstar Shawn Michaels, said that cage was the direct inspiration for one of the most famous matches in modern wrestling, Hell in a Cell. Tommy Rich was only world champ for 4 days, but his war with Buzz Sawyer created an idea that is still used to this day. Even though his feud with Buzz Sawyer made a ton of money, it came at a huge cost. It proved Tommy was tough, but the violence completely stalled his career. He went from being a world title contender to being known as a guy who just has bloody brawls. He was no longer on track to challenge guys like Ric Flair. He was stuck. Eventually, he left Georgia. The wrestling business was changing, and the system that made him a star was being destroyed by the WWF's national expansion. Rich became a journeyman. In 1989, he showed up in WCW, but he was mostly just there to lose to other stars like Lex Luger. He tried to reinvent himself, ditching the Wildfire name to become Thomas Rich, a guy in a suit as part of the York Foundation. They even won a minor tag team title, but it was a long, long way from the main event. From there, he wrestled for smaller companies, even winning the heavyweight title in Smoky Mountain Wrestling and having a run in the ultra-violent ECW. He kept winning championships, but he never got back to that top spot. After being on top of the world, he slowly just faded away. So, why does nobody remember Wildfire Tommy Rich as an NWA World Champion? I'm going to break it down for you with 4 simple reasons. First, his reign was only 4 days long. Blink and you would have missed it. Second, he was never seen on TV as the champion, making him a total ghost. Third, backstage politics. He was completely overshadowed by the guy the company really wanted to be champ, Ric Flair. And fourth, his career was redefined by a feud so brutal that it forever changed his image from champion to brawler. And yet, wrestling owes a huge debt to Wildfire. His story is a snapshot of a time when one single good guy could sell out every building in a territory. His shocking win, no matter how short, created a moment of pure, unpredictable excitement. And his war with Buzz Sawyer, born from the ashes of his championship dreams, became one of the greatest feuds of all time, directly inspiring match types we still see today. Tommy sees that 4-day reign as his legacy, proof that he was the biggest star in the world. He was a champion. He drew insane money. He left his mark. Mainstream history may have forgotten him, but his impact is undeniable. He's the king for 4 days, the wildfire that burned brighter than anyone, if only for a moment. So I have to ask you, was Tommy Rich a victim of backstage politics, a one-hit wonder, or a true legend who has been completely forgotten? Let me know what you think in the comments right now. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with another fan who needs to know the story of Wildfire Tommy Rich. Thanks for watching.